Hello, everybody. Today, I want to share with you a book that I found super exciting and such an incredible read. So this is a book I'm sharing too. So it's called The Deccan Horse Murders, and it's one of the most famous Japanese detective fiction. I want to just without giving any spoilers, I want to tell you what this story is about, and then share with you the things I really love about it and the things I don't really like about it. So the Deccan Horse Murders, wrote by Yukito Ayatsuji, who is one of the most famous Japanese crime fiction, detective fiction authors, and I think One Small Island was named after him in 2010 or something. So this book is his debut, his first book, and also one of his most famous books. So it's about how this group of university students went onto this island as of their club society trip. And their society is basically writing detective fictions and reading detective fictions. So the reason why they chose this island was because there was a horrible murder occurred where everybody died in the island. So they find it, and apparently there's a ghost of the period island owner that haunts the island. So they find it super exciting, and then they went onto the island for a quick 1 week trip. But then they began to die one after each other, and there is and then on the first day or second day there has been mysteriously appeared plates which says the first, second, third, and last victim, the detective, and there was either 4 or 5 victims, the detective and the murderer. And so basically, as what the play suggested, that's how so 5 people became victims. One is the detective and the other one is the murderer. And so as they mysteriously began to kind of die one after one, they got really scared, and this really merry group of people began to turn on each other and spilling their dark secrets. It's really exciting, and what I really loved about it is how it kept me guessing until the last minute. I was thinking, oh, it must be him, and then it turns out it's not this guy but the other one. And I was, guessing different people until the end, whom I never expected, and that is because it's such a clever use. The authors such a clever use where the club members had English nicknames, and their actual name is Japanese. So one person could have 2 names, and you never know which one's which. I don't think this is giving any spoilers because even if you read it, you still don't know. You still can't really guess who the murderer is just based on this. But it's so clever. And so this book is inspired by Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. However, they used a different story structure where you've got the perspective of the students on the island, but you also got perspective of other club members on the mainland, and you just watch on how they kind of became. At first it seems a bit separate, and then you see how it merges into one story, and then aha, everything makes sense. But this is also super exciting and something I really liked about it, how it's inspired from Agatha Christie, but it also distinguishes itself as something that's quite different, especially around the story structure. That's something I really liked about it. And some other things I really liked about it, it refers to a previous murder on the island, as I just told. However, as we kind of uncover the story through the mainlander's perspective, we learn that it's actually have nothing to. Would that be a spoiler? It actually have nothing much to do with the current murder going on in the island, and that's quite different from what you personally would expect. It was oh, that must be the same thing. So it's not really a cliche. That's something I really liked about it, and everything, all of the mystery with the previous murder and with the current murder, everything is explained very thoroughly, and all of the secrets is being spilled out. Everything, you understand everything, and it seems like the author really has the structure. He really got everything very logically. That's something I really liked about it. And there's something that I find super thought-provoking, which is what one of the main characters, Ellery, said that now for a modern crime, Sherlock Holmes, like there wouldn't be a Sherlock Holmes anymore, and because of things like technology, a modern Sherlock Holmes is like a master of the latest techniques in forensic pathology and science, and they're really and he'll explain it all to poor dear Watson, using complex specialist jargon formulas that no reader would ever be able to comprehend. And it's like it's really sciencey, which is one type of intellect, but this other kind of intellect is the more maybe more qualitative, but there's logic and assumptions and figuring out the motives of all of the suspects, even without like CCTV or whatever, just figuring out the motives and thinking everything through, understand the story, and treating the whole case almost as a intellectual quiz. I think that's something that's really fascinating. But one thing I didn't really like about the book that I'm a bit disappointed with is the motive of the murderer. I understand that from his perspective because he's been through a lot of childhood trauma. So it's like he even admits it's not sane to do. It's understandable from his perspective, but as a reader myself, I find it a bit disappointing. And I would rather wish it's some other guy. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it actually relates to. I want it to be a proper cause rather than something that's quiet. That's more like just putting your anger onto somebody else rather than actually be disappointed with. I'm gonna give one spoiler here, so if you want to read the book without spoiler, just stop here. I would rather it's the brother of the previous island owner that killed the people, because like from his perspective it makes sense, because the students kind of nagged the girl into drinking too much, so she died of heart disease. Therefore the island, so his brother's wife, who he have an affair with, his brother's wife is very upset, and his brother, who is a super possessive and insane man, killed everybody, including himself and the wife. It makes sense to him. It's like, because you guys nagged my biological daughter into drinking too much and then died. Now I've lost my daughter, I've lost my lover, I've even lost my brother, I've got nobody that I'm like friend, I've got no family here anymore. It makes sense for him to then put the anger on the not guilty either, on the students. That makes sense. But if just because, hey, you guys nagged my girlfriend into drinking, so you are all murderers, I'm gonna kill each of you off, and even her friend, even my girlfriend's friend, because she didn't stop her from drinking. Not like she nagged her, she just didn't stop her. It's her fault as well. Like, why don't you look at yourself, dude? If you were there the whole time, like, she wouldn't have died. But that's something I don't really like about it. The motive is a bit disappointing. I'd rather it's Kojiro. I'd rather if it's the previous island owner's brother. It would just make a bit more sense to me. But that is that. I still recommend it, 4 out of 5. It's still a really lovely book, and it really got me thinking about intellect, what kind of, it's not just science and programming that's intellectual, but being very qualitative and thinking about logics and be able to be a good writer. That's an equally intellectual thing. It's not just what our society kind of thinks, the STEM students are smarter than the more like non-STEM humanities students. I think that's a perception, at least my peers have kind of, that I felt. I'm not sure if it's to you guys, but that got me thinking about intellect, logic, science versus a more traditional kind of detective methods, thinking about motives, and it's such an interesting story.